My friends, welcome to this ultimate guide to understand and go beyond the complexity meter. If you just started playing Planet Coaster 1 or 2 on a console, or if you're a PC player, you might not be familiar with the complexity meter and how it works. Basically, Frontier has made the choice to limit the amount of things we can put in a single map on console, and everything you can place in it contributes to make a percentage grow until the map reaches 100% on the counter, after which you cannot place anything in it anymore. This may sound outrageous, and in some ways I'll mention later, it is, but it's not a huge problem per se. Personally, I view this limit as a challenge, so I try to carefully craft everything for it to take the least amount of percentage possible while still fulfilling my vision. Now please, don't shoot the messenger in the comments. I'm simply making this informative video as a guide for everyone to understand the complexity meter thoroughly. Also, this video is reflecting the state of the game on consoles on December 10th, 2024, so if any future gameplay additions or changes aren't included, you'll know why. Still, if you think this guide's useful, please drop a like and subscribe to support my hard work. With all this out of the way, let's go through what's the same between the two games, what's better in Planet Coaster 2, what's new, and what's uglier, and you'll want to stick around for this last one. Let's start with what's the same. First of all, scenery pieces take roughly the same amount of percentage as they used to in the original console edition of Planet Coaster. In the first game, we can build with 74,485 pieces until we reach 100% on a blank map, and in the sequel, we can similarly use 74,491 pieces for the game to reach 100% on a blank map. Another good thing to note is that scaling does not affect the percentage. I want to thank Albandous because his entrance blueprint was the closest one I could find nearing 4K pieces to test this out. The in-game blueprints weren't nearly as piece heavy. This is from his current park series Mystic Shores, which I highly recommend you watch if you don't mind the French. With piece count out of the way, let's talk about flat rides. Interestingly enough, flat rides have stayed the exact same as they were in the first game. You could place 147 flat rides before reaching 100% in the original, and you can still do the same in the sequel. Something to note is that the pieces you use to theme one of those, a track ride or a coaster, will still count towards piece count. However, use the mirror tool as much as possible, because no matter how many mirror duplications of an item you have, it will only count as one on the piece count, and that's both for console and PC. One thing to keep in mind though is that for some reason, flats have a very bad influence on the frame rate in both games, with Planet Coaster being barely responsive and Planet Coaster 2 having a really hard time. Of course, no one will ever place 147 flat rides in a park, and if you do, well, consider me afraid of you. You're a menace to society and simply want to watch the world burn. From a frame rate killer to what was a big percentage killer in the first game, let's talk about pathing. I originally thought that, unlike Planet Coaster 1, where pathing took a big amount of percentage, Planet Coaster 2 had optimized pathing substantially. Well, it's actually more sort of similar. For a surface of 9,000 square meters of pathing, it took 8% in the old game, and for the exact same surface of pathing in Planet Coaster 2, it also takes 8%. What's changed, however, is this. It was well known that pathing took less percentage while on the grid than in lines in the original game, but in the sequel, the pathing's actually been optimized, so no matter the shape of your path, it will take the same amount of percentage than if you use a grid like I did for the test, so there's still a bright side to that. That's a great segue to bring us to the next section of the video. Let's talk about what's better in Planet Coaster 2. You can now build a little more than double the amount of coasters, which is great news in my opinion. In Planet Coaster, you could place 20 coasters that were 750 meters long before reaching 100%, but in the new game you can now place 44 coasters that are 800 meters long to reach that. Of course, that's an insane amount of coasters to place in a single park, so no one will do that, especially knowing that the rest of the gameplay features also take percentage on the counter. That being said, this gives you more room to theme your rides by roughly halving the percentage a coaster takes that you can then redistribute in other aspects of your projects. Similarly, the percentage taken by track rides has been halved too. It took 45 rapids that were 500 meters long to reach 100% in the first game, whereas now you need 95 of those to get there in the sequel. As I said for coasters, this is percentage that you can redistribute elsewhere in your park, especially if you want to theme your ride. Speaking of water rides, we have brand new water park features in the sequel, so let's see how those affect the counter. Very similarly to how coasters affect the complexity meter, Flumes roughly take the same amount as they do. However, they're far shorter than the coasters in general, so they will cost less percentage to build. I could build 74 flumes that were 228 meters long until I met the limit. This is actually very good because compared to theme parks, which only have a few coasters for the most part, water parks have tons of slides, so being able to add a lot is great news. Still in the realm of water parks, pools are somewhat similar to pathing. For 9,000 square meters, they take 9% on the counter, which, as you can see on the footage, is more than enough for your water park. Ironically, you might want to start using pools instead of terrain for your water features. Let's get into what's ugly. While terrain water used to take 0% no matter the size of the water feature in the first game, creating a similar lake in Planet Coaster 2 uses 11% on the counter. With how good the water looks in this game, I think this can be forgiven, especially because a player rarely creates a lake this large, but it is something that newly affects the counter, so we have to take that into account nevertheless. Another nitpick is how shops and facilities take slightly more percentage now, which isn't a big deal because in an empty map you can still place 926 until you reach 100% in the sequel, but you used to be able to place 1514 in Planet Coaster. I felt that on a micro scale when building Camtasso Park. I think it's because every shop box adds a bit of pathing underneath them, but it's alright now that we can use the extremely versatile shop counters, no need for massive 4x4 boxes anymore. A nice trade-off in my opinion. Another ugly thing is a hidden feature that's existed in the game since the Planet Coaster Console Edition days but that very few people know about. Some veterans might know this as the blueprint glitch to go beyond 100%, but let me tell you that it's actually not a glitch. The way the game works is that when you reach the threshold between 99 and 100%, it wants to let you place the last element of your park, even if you go beyond 100%, because it doesn't want to ruin your experience. Don't tell the game it does ruin our experience, you'll break its tiny heart. Anyway, jokes aside, that's previously been thought of as a glitch, but it actually is the optimization of this feature. You see, the game doesn't care whether that last element you place is a single piece or a maxed out blueprint with 4,000 pieces and a few rides in it. That's how with Little Lost City, the PlayStation Collab Park and Planet Coaster Console Edition, we were able to reach 115% in the final version of the park. Historically, a player called Anthony Duhigg even went as far as 145% for his God of War park.
Well, this seems nice, Yan. Why are you putting this in the What's Ugly section?
Two things. One, when you near and go beyond 100%, this little danger sign will appear next to your counter. Once you see this, no matter if you're still at 100% or beyond, your next save will not appear in the save and load options of the pause menu and won't appear in the My Parks tab of the main menu either. Don't worry, it still exists. To find it, you need to go to the Play tab of the main menu, open Sandbox, then choose Select Park and you will find it there. You can also upload it to the workshop, however be aware that as a console player you will not be able to access your own creation from the workshop after you've uploaded it if it has that little danger sign, nor will other console players, and that's just disgusting in my opinion, I'm sure you'll agree. Essentially, the workshop considers you've uploaded a PC creation, but you've clearly done everything on a console, and this brings me to my next point. The second thing is that this quite simply means that the console versions of both Planet Coaster and Planet Coaster 2 can go way beyond the imposed limit, my dear viewer. When the embargo to reveal I had early access to the game got lifted, I had a conversation with my good friend NH99. Basically, I realized very early on that this feature to go beyond 100% was back from the first game, and I thought that was great, so I didn't look into it more, but NH attempted to break the game to prove that we can go far beyond the complexity meter. His most recent find is that we can download PC creations that exceed the meter if you do it from the front page of the workshop and if you don't have saves that are more recent than the one used for the uploaded creation. That's because you can only access it with the Continue button on the Play tab of the main menu. This is how I'm able to bring you this exclusive smooth gameplay of Esdan Wolf's beautiful Wilderness Springs from my PS5, even though as you can see it's at 181% on the console counter. He's used 85,000 pieces, 27 rides, 24 shops, 10 facilities, 10 pools, and even if he had capped the guest count to 1,500, I wanted to see how the console performed with 6,000 guests in, because, you know, We're here to do experiments anyways. Well, they stopped getting to the park and started leaving at around 5,400 because that's how the game works now, but still, this right here is smooth enough for me to call the current complexity meter completely overzealous. This is proof that Frontier could double the limit if they wanted to, and the game would still run amazingly, especially if they keep it capped at 30 FPS. If you tell me that this is the reason why they've capped the frames so low, then that would make this pill far easier to swallow. Right now, in essence, we've got a game with a similar potential than the console edition of the previous one, albeit with a far better optimization and more features. And the game is great, don't get me wrong, I'm loving it. I already have 400 hours of playtime, but I can't ignore the fact that they can make it even better by increasing the limit, which in turn will help us create far more for our projects, allow us to play in collaborations with PC players for longer and more easily, and to download a wider array of amazing creations. But that's not all, folks. You might want to sit down for this next part. Spider-Man's real name is... okay, I'm sorry, I'm joking. NH has pushed the console piece count to its real limits before it crashes, and you won't believe what the max piece count could really be. Are you ready? 554,346 pieces. Proof's right there on the top right hand corner of your screen. That's almost 7 times the amount of pieces that the set limit currently allows us to play with, and I stopped there to ensure you guys can replicate this safely with no crash, but I could have taken this way higher. I know NH has taken this technique all the way to around 700k for instance. This is absolutely insane and further proof that consoles are capable of much more. How do you replicate this on your console then? Well, first of all, note that it will not help you build more at all. This is purely a duplication glitch and it will prevent you to save the game after you've done it at least twice. Essentially, you need to do what I've previously told you to do to go beyond 100%, but don't use a blueprint from your scenery tab. Duplicate an existing blueprint in the map instead and hold on to it once you've placed it a first time. After this, you can place it indefinitely, increasing the amount of pieces every single time. Now of course, this also proves how unstable the game is on console when orbiting around those ridiculous numbers, but with the previously mentioned proof that we can smoothly run a reasonably massive 181% park like Esden Wolves, it's obvious that the game is not using 100% of its capabilities on console. So, what's my conclusion on the complexity meter in Planet Coaster 2? Well, the complexity meter is allowing us to do a little more on Planet Coaster 2 than on Planet Coaster, I can't deny that, and in order to fully utilize its potential, it's up to the player to be careful with how they use every tool at their disposal. Nothing's changed here. Console players can even manipulate the beyond 100% feature to maximize the potential of their creations. However, there are many downsides to using that on the new game compared to when we were using it in the old one, so be careful. That being said, the console version of Planet Coaster 2 is clearly not using its full potential. Being able to visit a PC player's park smoothly while it's at 181% and being able to use a duplication glitch to bypass the set limit and go touch the realms of what we thought was previously only possible on PC proves as much. Planet Coaster 2 on console has had a slight improvement over the first game regarding the complexity meter, but it could be a far more enjoyable experience for everyone involved if Frontier dared explore what hides beyond the limit that they've currently set. Thank you for watching this ultimate guide on the complexity meter. If you found this useful and informative, you can like this video to support my hard work and subscribe so you get to see more Planet Coaster 2 videos. If you'd like to support me even further, you can join the channel supporters with the link in the description. You'll get to see progress pictures, early access to my videos, and your name featured in my park projects and at the end of my videos like the 9 legends you're seeing on your screen. By the way, congratulations New Channel and Birdie for earning the 2 months bronze badge, and to Glapix for earning the 1 month green badge. Your continuous support genuinely means the world to me. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to get invested in what I do without spending money, you can also join the 213 members of my YanHQ Discord community where we share our workshop items, screenshots, and simply socialize. Your invite awaits in the description. The next video is gonna be my 200th video, so I'll have to do a little special project to celebrate this. Subscribe to find out what it is next weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Yan, and I'll see you in the next one.